Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another stunning rendition of the Rethink Tank podcast. We are gathered here today to do a little bit of a recap. On the docket today, we have the 2025 NFL Draft recap, kind of get our thoughts, discuss a little bit what we got right, got wrong, and some things that might have got under our skin. Then we're going to follow it up with the European power outage. Unless your power went out, I'm sure you have heard about it. And one of our very own, the very founder, the leader, the man himself, Mr. Alexander Gurgat, is in Spain, now Portugal, during this unbelievable occurrence. And we're going to wrap it up with the Commander-in-Chief's 100 days recap. We're going to kind of get a little bit, not touch too much on it. I don't think we're smart enough to really delve it in without our fearless leader, but we're going to kind of touch on it a little bit, but gathered with us here today, besides you, the viewer, in Pickle Gallery, we have our good friend, Ricky Ricardo from Just Another Day TV. Ricky, say hello to the fans.
Bless up, Black, highly favored, bro. Blessed too.
Outside as always. And on the keyboard, we have our fearless producer, Dougie Fresh. Dougie, say hello.
Hello.
Alrighty. And as always, with you, your host today,
Not
Will.
Alex Gurgat.
Just Will. That's fine. Just Will. So, all right. The NFL draft kicked off Thursday night. Beautiful Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I don't think anybody's ever said that about Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I could say that because I'm from Cleveland. So no one said it about here either. The Cleveland Browns decided to make a splash right away. But before that, someone was picked before that. And Cam Ward went number 1 overall to the Tennessee Titans. Something we did get right. Felt pretty good about that one. I don't think that one was too much of a brain teaser. Doug's pulling up the list right now. You could kind of get a thought. One. Yeah, just the first round. The round the people really care
the
about.
Important people.
But after that, we have the 2nd through 7th round. So other guys were taken. As you can see, the Browns picked 5th. Now you might be wondering, hey, I thought we were picking 2nd. What happened there? What possibly could have gone? Now, Doug and I, we had our prediction that we were going to trade back, and trade back we did. We traded back to the 5th round pick, traded with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we took Mason Graham, defensive tackle out of Michigan. Ricky, I want to hear your thoughts about the trade down and kind of, are you upset? Are you displeased? Did you really want Mr. Hunter out of Colorado? Where are you at on this one, man?
I'm not mad at it. We got Dylan Gabriel later on in the first round, right? And
well, not the
we
first
traded
round.
for another first round next year and some extra picks in this year. So I ain't mad at it. And then I guess we'll get into it later with the other drama, but I ain't mad at it. I like it. I like it. It's not a stupid Browns move. There's stupider moves I've seen the Browns made over the past 20 years I've been in America.
Oh, I'll be honest, man. I didn't think the Browns organization was, the front office was capable of smart decisions, but I had to give them kudos for that one.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted them to do all along.
Yeah.
I'm like, just trade back, accumulate. There's nobody here stunning.
Yep.
We were talking about it before the show. This wasn't exactly a flashy draft.
There was no sexy pick. Like, you love when you get a nice sexy pick. It's like, I want to buy his jersey now.
Right.
We didn't have any of those.
Right.
And Travis could have been a sexy pick. It's just we didn't know what exactly he's going to play. And he's telling teams that, if he can't go both ways, it was just he's a great talent. He's a great prospect and everything. But that's the sexiest pick, I would say, of the draft. A two-way player.
Talk Browns, here is our overall draft class.
Right. Drafted Mason Graham right away. I took a nice linebacker out of UCLA. I can never say his last name correctly, but Carson Schweizinger, I think that's how you pronounce it.
That was actually close from what I've heard. Yeah.
Perfect. Look at me. I already know my players. And shortly after that, we took the running back of the 2, the one I would have preferred, Quinshon Judkins.
I wanted Harrison.
Yeah, I mean,
or Henderson. Wait. Shit.
No, you got it right. You got it right.
Okay.
Attaboy. That's a Buckeyes fan over there. That's a Buckeyes fan. I prefer Judkins just because he strikes me as your typical 1st through 3rd down back. He strikes me as a Nick Chubb, more so than Henderson, which isn't bad, because especially at the time, I didn't think then we would be taking the running back from Tennessee, Dylan Sampson, which I thought
that
was
surprised
a
me.
fantastic pick. I thought that was such a good pick. Honestly, I was like, we got a 1-2 backs right there. I don't think it bodes well for Nick Chubb.
I was gonna say Chubb is for sure gone now. There's no him coming back.
I saw an article that the Bears were kind of like inquiring about his free agency. He wanted to get in touch with his agent to see, but and then well, all right, let's just get into the controversy. So on day 2, we take Dylan Gabriel out of Oregon, and I don't think many people, ourselves included, I honestly forgot the kid was in the draft, but I don't necessarily hate the pick. The kid, he's like Bo Nix. He's like the Bo Nix of this draft. He's a kid who's played at multiple different colleges. I think he beat Bo Nix's record for most career starts in Division I. So that record didn't last long, but it's a crazy long record. It's like 60 or 63 games or something like that. He's had great success at UCF, then at Oklahoma, and then at Oregon. I mean, he was the Big 12 Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year. He was the Big 10's Offensive Player of the Year, even over our guy, Doug, who was our guy, your guy, quarterback.
Oh, Will Howard?
Will Howard, that's one.
That's my boy.
I baited him into it, but
I wanted him so bad. Oh, okay. Well, we're going to talk Browns right now. And you brought him up. Okay, instead of Sanders, I get the deal we got with him. I would have rather had Will Howard. I also would have rather had Will Howard instead of Gabriel. What I really hate is that the Steelers got Will Howard, because now, like, people were like, oh, he may not do anything. But now, if he is good and he does do stuff in the league, it's going to be against us. And I'm going to hate watching that.
I think what really sucks too is Will Howard looks like such a Pittsburgh kid. Like, as much as I might hate to say, he's a big kid at quarterback for Pittsburgh, and like the last big kid they had from Ohio was Big Ben. So I don't know, like there's a bit of a comparison there. Obviously not in terms of like where they were drafted. Big Ben went, I think, in the top 5. Like, he was a first round pick. Will Howard goes in the 6th round, but I was happy for Will. I think, listen, we love our Browns, but Pittsburgh always does great in the draft. They took Jack Sawyer in the 4th or 5th round, and I'm like, that's another guy who somehow gets drafted in the right organization. He could somehow be a menace for the AFC North for years and years to come. Not saying it'll work out. We obviously don't know. These are prospects. These kids drafted. We don't know how good they're going to be. But those two picks right there was like, yeah, that's so Pittsburgh. It hurts. Like, it's just such a Pittsburgh pick. Both of them are. And Pittsburgh loves their Ohio State kids. Like, they really have over the year, So you got to think, they drafted a kid in the 1st round, not an Ohio State kid, but he's like a D tackle. And it's like, you got to think they got Cam Hayward, former Brown, who's been absolutely great for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Could argue he could be a Hall of Famer.
You talking about their Harmon pick?
Yeah, Harmon. He was a D tackle, and like, again, not a sexy pick, but just very much like a Pittsburgh Steeler kind of pick. And then, so yeah, the Browns, we draft Dylan Gabriel, which I didn't mind. He's a scrappy player. But again, when you draft him, it's like, I'm not expecting this kid to start. He might not even play, and that's the beauty of like drafting the 3rd round kid, is like, I'm not expecting this kid to come in and play. This is where the draft got weird for me then on day 5 when we drafted Sanders, because it's like, this was not part of their draft plan. That I have nothing against us, like Shedeur Sanders. I really don't. Like, it's not like I don't think he's a good player. I think clearly there's something there to why he dropped, and I think it's a multitude of things. I think it's 1, his dad. I think it's 2, this wasn't a very quarterback-driven like draft class. So you had a lot of teams that weren't even considering quarterbacks, that were like, they were just never going to draft a quarterback. I think when you come down to it, there were probably like 4 or 5 teams that were looking for quarterbacks, and I want to know what he was doing in these interviews. I want to know how prepared he was going into these interviews.
I actually will. I actually heard on the way here on 923 The Fan, our local channel, sports channel. Mm-hmm. They were saying that they were hearing that he just absolutely bombed the New York Giants interview. And that they think he did it on purpose because his dad told him to, or he listened to his dad, and that's why he bombed it. Something about that. And because then it all went off on a tangent of, maybe he shouldn't have listened to his dad. Maybe he should have had an agent, because he doesn't have an agent either. So it's like,
Yeah. And here's the thing. There are quarterbacks in this. There are players, not just quarterbacks in this NFL that don't have agents. I mean, Lamar Jackson, famously, his agent's his mom. I'm pretty sure.
But she's doing good work.
I'm pretty sure Jane Daniels' agent's his mom, too. Like, it's not against the player. The thing with Dion is Dion's Dion. You got prime time and now we have showtime. And the problem is like, Dion, I don't want your kid to turn into a waste of time because I don't want to look at this kid and be like, the kid's clearly talented. I think he was overrated in terms of like the draft. Like, I don't know why for months. It was
Okay. All right. Hold on.
5,
Question.
Yeah.
Is he better than Tyler Shook? When have you ever heard of Tyler
Shuff? Yeah. No, I think he's better than Tyler Shuff. Okay. There are other quarterbacks like I think he's better than, but then again, and this is a thing, like too, like for instance, like Jalen Milroe ends up in Seattle. I don't think Jalen Milroe is going to be that good as a quarterback, but what I do think he is I think this is what Shedeur Sanders' biggest issue was going into these interviews, these meetings, the pre-draft ritual, right? You do your pro day, you do your combine, you do the conversations with the organizations, the coaches, the executives, the GMs.
He didn't perform at the combine.
He didn't perform at the combine. He didn't do the pro day. Like, he admitted from doing these things. All these other guys did it. It's not just that they're showcasing their skills. They're then talking to these guys. I'm sure if you were to ask Seattle drafting Jalen Milroe, they'd be like, I don't know if he's necessarily better, but it's like, God damn, do I like the kid. I like the kid. I think he's a good fit. I think he's got a good moral compass, good personality. And I'm not saying Shedeur Sanders doesn't have that. But what I'm saying is to drop from a top 5 pick, which was what he was projected to be, to the 5th round, something's off there. Like, something's completely off there with the player, the mentality. He has an entire draft room where it says legendary all the way around. And it's like, there's something there that it's like, kid, sure, you were great. You were good in college. I won't even say great in college. Like, you were good in college. You went 13-12. You had a good last year at Colorado. You're not him. Like, you're not him. We've had recent quarterbacks get drafted in this league that were him, and they went to the draft, or they went to the combine, they did the pro days, all of these things. They went through the whole ritual. I definitely think in hindsight, someday, I bet you he's going to look back and be like, yeah, I should have done some things differently then. But like, for right now, I don't know. But when it comes to the Browns, I find it hard to believe that they went into this draft saying we're going to draft 2 quarterbacks. I don't buy it.
No.
I don't buy it at all.
I like it. I like it because it reminds me of Washington when they took RG3 and Kirk Cousins. I love it. I love it. So one of them has to hit. You feel me?
No, that doesn't mean one of them has to hit.
I'm hoping.
Ricky,
I'm hoping.
I get it's a hope, but that doesn't mean they're going to hit.
I know it doesn't mean you don't know who's going to hit in the draft. You hope your team does good, and whoever they get, you hope they do. It's your team, so you're going to hope for the best for the player they draft. But where Shedeur went wrong in the draft, it was Dion. Okay, it wasn't even Shedeur, I would say, because from what I watched Shedeur over the past 2 years off media, which is their vlog that their brother do behind the scene. He's a humble kid. He's not a braggadocious kid. He doesn't get in trouble. He's not like one of my favorite Browns quarterback we ever draft, Baker Mayfield, that got tackled by the cops right before the draft. He doesn't do none of this. You don't hear nothing. He just confident, braggadocious because of who his dad is. He's how he was raised. He was raised around this mentality of you're the best, you're going to be the best, walk with this. But where he went wrong, where the draft went wrong for him was Deion Sanders being their agent, because Shiloh came out and was like, yo, my dad was my agent. It didn't work out. We had to go get an agent. Yeah. And he got picked up the very next day by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So it's not, I don't feel like it was a fucking Shedeur problem. It was more of a Pops problem. I think Alex said it before, is that they feel like Deion was going to be in the locker room with Shedeur. How much sense does that make? He has the whole program to run at Colorado.
He's going to be around. Yeah, he's going to be around. They play on Saturdays, dude. He plays on Saturdays. He's going to get on a private jet.
So what if your dad comes to your game? I'm sorry, my dad is famous. I'm sorry, but my dad is not going to be here during the week going through game plans. He's going to have to show up. He's going to have to do the work. I'm defending Shedeur on this. He is not a bad guy. I don't think he bombed in the interviews. I think it's because of his dad that he fell in the draft that far. I think
Shador's issues is his dad. I think he does have a bit of an entitlement feature. I do think so because of his dad. But I think but the thing is,
everywhere the man been, he has won.
He's barely won. He went 13-12 at Colorado. I'm not going to sit here and be like he had. What's the difference between Baker Mayfield getting tackled by the police? Baker Mayfield was a Heisman Trophy winner.
I'm just saying he doesn't have any of these bad things that people are making it seem like he's. If I'm entitled, so be it. But he still goes out there and work. During the draft process, the man was practicing the whole draft process until the draft started. He got dressed and sat to the draft.
Ricky, man, Alex in the chat here says it best. All right, I'll throw it back up. This is Odell's dad on steroids.
Yeah,
we all remember it. And that was a grown-ass man, not a brand new rookie. You don't think Odell is just going to be all over this? Like, or not Odell. You don't think Deion's going to be all over this?
No, especially what he just seen happen to his son. The league just put Deion on notice. They didn't put Shador on notice because Shador knew he had to go in the league and work. They just put Deion on notice. Are you going to come in here because your son can be out of the league by next year? If you think you're going to come run any of these organizations, go apply for a job and get your son in that building if you want to run an organization. I think this is a message to Deion more than Shador.
Regardless of who the message was towards more for now, when I think of the Odell Beckham Jr.'s dad thing is like, dude, I don't even know Odell Beckham Jr.'s dad's name. I know Deion. I know Deion's name.
That's why it's going to be so much worse.
Here's the scenario.
Much worse.
Here's the scenario. The issue is, and this is why I think Haslam made a phone call. Because again, for me, I hear your point about Washington, and then even last year, New England did it. They drafted Joe Milton in the 6th round. They drafted Drake May 3rd overall. You draft RG3 first overall, and then you get Kirk Cousins in the 4th round. I could understand that more because you're drafting a kid early, and then we're going to need a backup. So I've never seen a roster with 5 quarterbacks and less wide receivers on the roster.
I don't get why they did it. But I love it. It's not a bad pick, bro.
It's not a bad pick, but it's not a pick that I think people should be like, oh, franchise guy.
At that point in the draft, who else would have got? We got the top player that point in the draft.
Receivers. I would have drafted receivers.
Will Howard. I wanted Will Howard, but I knew he was going to end up a Steeler. I knew it. It's just for some I knew it. And plus, I went to watch Gruden QBs and Will Howard on there. I just was like, oh my God, this guy's a fucking genius.
Another thing Shador didn't do. Another thing. And now I get it. Cam Ward didn't either.
Quarterbacks did it. Only 4 quarterbacks did it.
But still, more exposure, more to just get to know you personally. I agree. I don't think Shador is he's had no off the field issues. He's never been arrested. He's kept it very tight to the vest. The kid. And again, I don't care about the ego thing. All these guys have egos. If you're a quarterback in the NFL or just a quarterback in general, you have to have an ego. I remember Browns fans were always pissed off Baker.
The man filmed himself every day working out.
Have an ego. You are the CEO of the players.
Bro, Cam Ward didn't go to Gruden QB either. He went 1st overall.
Yeah, Cam Ward, we all knew he was going there. But the other guys went there to get more exposure, to get better picks.
True.
For Shador, it's like, Shador, I remember he was like, oh, pay attention to my cleats. This is where I'm probably going to go. And he wears New York Giants cleats. And then it comes out that he had a horrible interview with the Giants. It was just like that. Yeah. I was surprised they said anything.
That's the report.
I was surprised.
Are unanimous. This is why all of us hate unanimous source. Yes. Anonymous source. Anonymous source. We hate it because who is it? Put a name on it. Put a name on it. Right. Who said it? Because when they asked the coach, he said no, which is the political answer he would give. What I mean?
They're all going to say no. But again, here the issue is when he does stuff like that and then he drops to the 5th, it comes and it's not just that. It's like you don't do the draft or you don't do the combine, you don't do a pro day. I don't know how prepared he was in these interviews, but it's like it would have been nice. Like John Gruden's, it's like go up to the whiteboard. He looks at Jackson Dart. Let me see your pre-snap. I want to see. And he's doing the class. He's like, I want to see what makes you unique as a quarterback.
But this man does that every day. And
I get that, but like he does it every day. But it's like
I know it's Gruden. It's Gruden. It would have showed you in a different environment.
Listen, you gotta play ball. In order to play ball, you gotta play ball. And he didn't play ball, and he dropped in the draft. And people keep bringing up the fact, like, oh, he's making so much less money now, as if
we are saving $40 million.
All the kids in the draft,
if this is
nobody cares less about money than Shedeur Sanders. He was born with money.
If this
the money doesn't mean much to him.
It means a lot to us.
Of course, it means a lot to us. That's why these kids went on John Gruden's. That's why they went there. They're like, we want to get picked. Will Howard, Quinn Ewers, none of them knew if they were even going to get drafted. We all knew Shedeur Sanders is most likely going to get drafted. My thing when it comes to the Browns is they drafted Dillon Gabriel in the 3rd round, and it took everyone by surprise. That's when I knew in my head, to this day, I'm like, that's the kid they wanted. They talked to this kid. They actually wanted Dillon Gabriel. That's why they picked him in the 3rd round, and why it surprised everyone. Then I've never heard of this. You trade up in the 5th round to get a quarterback after you already drafted. That's the one where I'm like,
it didn't cost us nothing.
I understand it didn't cost us nothing, but I've never heard of that. That's like so unprecedented.
5 quarterbacks, Ricky. We got 5 quarterbacks. We can't forget Deshaun is still on our team and will take a roster spot when he comes back.
And the thing is, just like,
got to go through training camp.
The problem is there's now 2 uncuttable guys on our roster. You can't cut Shedeur. They're not cutting Shedeur. You can't cut Shedeur. You want to know why? We're trying to build a new stadium, and he got drafted in the 5th round, and he has the 3rd most rookie jersey sales. You're not cutting him. People are going to go to the games just because Shedeur's there. I mean, kudos to him. He is called Showtime. That's what he calls himself.
His jersey is already one of the top
3rd most selling rookie jersey after the draft. So I've never heard of that out of a 5th round pick. So that's kudos to him.
That's crazy.
But like, it comes down to this thing where it's like, I don't know where in your draft strategy did you think, oh, I'm going to get a quarterback in the 3rd round and then trade up to get one in the 5th? Like that's drafting a kid in the 1st round and then like in one of your later picks, like, we really only have 1 or 2 quarterbacks on the roster. Draft another kid. Why not? And then they ended up trading Joe Milton. I remember Kirk Cousins a few weeks ago. He had an interview where he said, he's like, Washington drafted me in the 4th round. And immediately when I showed up, they're like, hey, man, we like you, but we're looking to trade you. So like that was the thought process. In hindsight, RG3 gets hurt after his rookie year. They still have him. They're like, it worked out. It worked out for them in the end. But it's like most of these guys that do that, they're not expecting to keep these guys. The issue is you drafted a kid who's already a celebrity. How are you just going to cut him? You can't cut Deshaun because of the salary. You can't cut him. Unfortunately, we're handicapped to 2 quarterbacks now. So you have Pickett, Dillon Gabriel, and Joe Flacco. And my biggest fear, and I'm going to be honest, Ricky, I think Shedeur's a nice quarterback, but my biggest fear is say Joe Flacco starts off 2-3. He's not doing too well, or he gets hurt. Shedeur's starting.
Hang on.
Like he will start before Dillon Gabriel.
Yeah, but so let's look at this all though. Like, so Kenny Pickett, we just did not pick up his 5th-year deal. So he's the one most likely to be cut if we need to make room. Flacco, he's our veteran on the team. He's staying no matter what. Shedeur is on the cheapest contract for talent that we all think is higher than the round we got him at.
Agreed.
So if we cut him, someone's going to pick him up for the price that he is at right now, being that rookie drafted where he is. It's Gabriel that I think might be on the chopping block. You know, it's like, because if we drop him, no one's going to want to pick him up with that contract. Right. So that'll give us a chance to put him on our practice squad and kind of maybe hold on to him. He's the one I think most likely to be cut. Shedeur is going to be safe. It's Kenny Pickett or Gabriel that will be on the hot seat, I think.
And, and it's like the unfortunate thing when I look at Dillon Gabriel, it's like I look at a kid who was like, yeah, he was actually in the draft plan. Like he actually was the kid like they were looking at. Probably had good interviews. Kids had great success. I understand people say he's undersized, but I mean, he's 5'11", 205, and it's like our last good drafted quarterback was 6'1", 215 pounds. So it's like, again, like it's like Jalen Hurts is only like 6 foot. Like these aren't big individuals. And Jalen Hurts was drafted after 50. He was like in a 3rd, 4th round pick, so I'm not saying these later kids, Gabriel and Sanders, can't have success. The thing is I guess this is where I was kind of hoping that we'd have just one relaxed season where it's like, yeah, the expectations aren't too high. There's not a lot of drama. There's not a lot of outside circus to it.
It would have been.
And it would have been. And then instant you draft Shedeur, it's like, you are going to hear about this kid, even if he's not playing well, you're going to hear about him forever, like for the whole season. And if Flacco's not playing well, Ricky, I disagree. Deion Sanders is going to say something. He's going to say, whether it's a tweet or publicly, I don't know. But if Odell Beckham Jr.'s dad had any say in this organization's confidence in a quarterback, which, by the way, is a quarterback still in this league, is now a franchise quarterback for a different team, I find it absolutely ridiculous to think Deion wouldn't do that for his son, because he's done that for his son his entire career. And again, it's a father showing support for his son. I could appreciate that all day, every day. And I do not look at Shedeur Sanders the same way I look at Bronny James. I don't think Bronny James is that good. I definitely think that was like his dad is really the reason he's in the league. I don't think that's the reason Shedeur Sanders is in the league. I think that's the reason Shedeur Sanders dropped in the draft. I think Shedeur Sanders is good enough to be on a team, whether it be a backup or a potential starter down the line. The issue is, I'm thinking now next year. I'm thinking next year's draft. We don't have a good year. Say we go 5-12 or whatever. We have a top 10 pick. Jacksonville, fortunately, I don't think they're going to do that well either. Maybe they only have like 6-7 wins under their belt. We have a top 15 pick with them. Are we going to look at this quarterback heavy draft and think we got to take one of these guys, or no? I don't know. I think the smart, obvious answer is yes. But I think with this whole circus thing, you got to think. If I'm Haslam, I know what I'm thinking. You bring in this kid. He has got third most selling jerseys behind Travis Hunter and Cam Ward, guys who went 1 and 2. Then it's the 5th round pick who has the most selling jerseys. We're trying to build this new stadium and bring more people to the stadium, which is kind of ridiculous to think that Browns fans wouldn't go to the new stadium. I mean, we go to this stadium and we suck.
I'm keeping my season tickets until that new stadium is built so I could get a season ticket to the new stadium, because even on the crappiest team, the tickets are going to be impossible to get. It's going to be a new stadium. People are going to want to go.
Exactly. So with the Shedeur Sanders thing, it's like, sure, I understand he does the Showtime thing. Kid's got an ego. Name me a quarterback who doesn't. I mean, like that whole argument, I don't fully agree with, just because they all have egos, and especially I was the Baker guy. Everyone always told me his ego is too big for his britches. These are quarterbacks, man. Like, these are quarterbacks. At some point or another, they get humbled enough to where the ego isn't so big. Just look at Baker. I mean, Flacco doesn't have a big ego, but I don't kid yourself. That guy goes out there, he's like, I am the man. I am the man. This is how it's going to be. It's just more, I don't see how the Browns on their draft strategy had, we're going to take Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd, and then we're going to trade up to draft Shedeur in the 5th. Just because there's no way they thought Shedeur would still be around in the 5th. Like, there's no way they thought that. We all thought Pittsburgh was going to be the team to draft them, and they end up taking Will Howard in the 6th, which is kind of funny, because when I think about it, I'm like, that's a team that historically drafts really well, and we are a team that historically does not draft really well. So that doesn't make me feel comfortable at all, knowing that the Buckeye national champion might actually end up being a pretty decent quarterback for them. It's to be seen, but that's kind of why I like this whole Shedeur Sanders thing. It just, we just dealt with the whole Deshaun thing for 3 years, and we finally, like, within the last month, even the owner finally is like, we're putting this in the past. Sure, he's still around the facility, but we're putting him in the past. And now we bring in this other kind of circus. To what degree it's going to hit, I don't know. But I can't, in good conscience, sit here and think, oh, yeah, Deion Sanders is just going to be quiet because he's coaching in Colorado. Like, I don't see that being the case at all. He was on like some panel like a month ago saying, like, someone brought up like Cleveland, and he's just like, no, he's going to New York. And it's like, I don't see that. I don't like knowing, like, within recent months.
I saw a video the other day of him talking with his brother, and he's like, let's play Madden. And the brother was like, nah, he only used one team. And he's like, the Browns. So we don't,
sure, I get it.
We don't know. Playing the game.
We don't know. But like, let me ask you this. What do you think this kid's ceiling is?
Shedeur?
Yeah.
I feel like he's going to be a good quarterback.
But like,
I feel like
good quarterback.
Not even. I don't feel like he can be. I feel like he can be a good starter in the NFL.
I think
yes,
at
good
best
for
he's
work.
like a Dak Prescott. I think at best he's like a Dak Prescott.
Out, bro. Okay. Okay.
Oh,
There's good things about Dak, and there's just like he just don't go over the hump in the playoffs. You know what I mean? He just can't get that one.
It's like, and I look at the intangibles that he has on the field, and it's like Shador, he's not that mobile. He does not have that strong of an arm. Sure, he's accurate, and Dak's the same way. Like, he's not that mobile. He's not that, like, he doesn't have that strong of an arm. Sure, he's accurate, but it's like Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott has about as many he has less playoff wins than Baker Mayfield and has had twice as long as his career. You know, that's sort of the thing. Like, nobody's sitting around saying Baker Mayfield doesn't have a strong arm. They're not saying Joe Flacco doesn't have a strong arm. And Joe Flacco is 40. You know, so when I look at like Shador Sanders, I'm like, he's not that mobile. He extends plays way too long, but that's going to get shut down quick. He's going to learn to not do that.
Yeah.
You know, or he's just not going to be in this league. Like, you got at most 4 seconds because you're not mobile enough to be like a Mahomes, a Lamar, a Josh Allen, where you could really extend the play that long. You know, like,
that's
and again, there are plenty of guys that don't have strong arms that do very well in the league. Like, look at Jalen Hurts. He just won a Super Bowl. He doesn't have like some rocket arm. But the thing is, it's like, what do I think Jalen Hurts has? I think he's got a very he is this even keeled. Always has been even. Even when Oklahoma, even at Alabama, even keeled. You know, Shador Sanders on the field, he's not even keeled. He's got a $200,000 watch on his wrist. You know, and again, I get it. It's flashy, all that, the Showtime, all that shit, all those things. Fine.
It's a celebration. He scores a touchdown. It's a celebration. But yes, having to watch on the field is kind of OD.
But that's what I mean. It's like, and it's like, I'm not. The NFL is going to humble you quick, and I don't know if he has that attitude because he is his father's son to just sort of be like.
If I
was on this practice squad, and I picked off a ball, got a big sack, stripped him or whatever, I look at him and be like, they retired your jersey? Shit, they should have mine. Like, they should have mine immortalized.
I don't know why they retired. That added to the fuel as well. I don't know why they did that right before the draft.
And I don't think the juice is squeezed with him.
He gets so much hate already, and he don't even do shit that's like. Other than just being him.
But him being him is bringing it on himself. And I'm not saying he should stop being him.
All you guys see is just little clips of here and there like that because y'all don't watch a Shador Sanders stream. Y'all don't go, you know what I mean? Y'all only see clips. So I can't even say, but back to the Dak Prescott thing, I understand. I just hope for the best and Deion stay out of the way, and this experience was a real humbling experience for them. That's what I really hope. It was just humbling, like you ain't the shit, get in line, or you can be out of the league. You know what I mean? We don't need you.
And that's the thing. That's when I like look at the Browns and like, and it's the thing is too, if they didn't draft Dylan Gabriel in the third and say drafted a receiver or drafted a defensive player, just a different player, and then took him in the fifth, I'd have been like, okay, sure. Like, you need a quarterback at some point. There's no way I could look at them and be like, look at Barry and Stefanski and be like, you're telling me your whole draft strategy was to draft a kid from Oregon.
I don't think it was.
Kid that pissed off people that when you drafted him in the third round and then trade up. And I get it. Who else are they going to pick? But like trade up then to take Shador in the fifth. I'm like, that was your draft strategy. I'm not buying it. Regardless of what because Doug mentioned like local media said like, oh, Jimmy Haslam had no say in it. It's like, Jimmy Haslam is the guy who traded up in the first round to draft Johnny Manziel because some hobo on the street said, draft Johnny.
You know, oh my God. We just all got to pray that he learned not to listen to random people on the streets, man. That's all we can hope for.
And here's the thing. I don't think Jimmy Haslam listened to. I guarantee you Deion Sanders got on the phone to some managers and said, please draft my kid. I really do. I 100% do, and I don't blame him.
If that was the case, he should have did that shit in the second round.
And that's what I mean. But here's the thing. No, he didn't do it in the second and third round. I think his father was shocked his son wasn't taken in the second and third round. And then after the fourth round, I guarantee you he started getting on the phone being like,
everybody was shocked that he fell.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think there's not a single person.
I think I was the only one here last week who would be like, yeah, I don't see him going in the first. If he's not taken 9 by New Orleans, which they ended up drafting Schuff, or Pittsburgh at 21. I'm like, I don't know when he's going.
Or
like,
New York,
like,
they went with Dart. I think he's better than Dart. But
and sure, I could give you that.
Here's my okay. Go ahead, Rick. Sorry.
No, you're good. No, you're good.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I think the NFL benefited from Shedeur dropping, because part of the fun for me wanting to keep watching even after the Browns had already had their pick, like I kept watching because it's like, when's Shedeur gonna be picked? It was like Shedeur watch. Like it was so much fun to go, oh, okay, now this team didn't take him. Like you said, my dad was like, New Orleans is gonna take him at 9. Nope.
I thought New Orleans was going to take him at 9. I thought Pittsburgh was going to take him at 21. And then when it got later in the draft, I'm like, all right, if it's not those two teams, I could see New York taking him, like the Jets, because they just have Justin Fields. I was like, there were other teams that I was like, could take a quarterback. And when we drafted Gabriel in the 3rd, I was like, all right, well, we're out of the quarterback sweepstakes, and which is fine, because it's like, I'm not expecting Dylan Gabriel to ever really play. Like, I viewed this as like, this is the Joe Flacco 1-year season. The fans finally get what they want. You know, they finally get like just a relaxing. If you go 500, it's a great year. Like that'd be a fantastic year. To now, it's going to be, we might be 500 2 months into the season, and people are going to be like, play Shedeur. Like they're going to be like, play Shedeur.
See, and those are just spectators, man. Those are not real fans, man. They just want the glam. We understand when a quarterback sit and learn from a vet. It works. It works in Green Bay. Yeah, exactly. See, boom. About to say.
That was the thing.
Not us as fans asking for it. The ownership, the staff have to put their foot down and not care about the outside noise. It's like it's the organization. It's not a Shedeur fault. Everything seemed like it's Shedeur fault. But this all fucked up and went wrong when they traded Baker. We should have kept Baker instead of getting Watson, and
it's not even trading Baker. You should have given him his 5th year. It's like you should have given him the 5th year, let him play out. Either you sign him or you don't. And it's just like, or extend him if he has a good 5th year. Because at that point, he had 2 good years, 2 bad years. One of the bad years was he was hurt, but it was like the Shedeur thing. It just reminded me of the Deshaun thing, and it was like
our
getting
coach
desperate.
Was Freddie Kitchen.
Yeah, but it's like it's one of those things. It's like you're just getting desperate. You're getting like, don't do a desperate thing. And funny enough, up until the Shedeur pick, I was like, this is the most unconventional Browns draft in recent years, where I was like, this is great. Like, this is great. Like, we're like, for me, I was just like, all right, just draft receivers now. You have like 2 more picks, draft 2 receivers. Hopefully one of them sticks on the team. But then when they did the Shedeur thing, it's like, I already know what the deal is. You're going to be 2 months into this year. And if you're like in 3rd place in the division, they're going to be like, play Shedeur. Like they're going. Yeah. The media will be.
We know that. Yeah. But
like we just know that. Like that's
the organization, Stefanski, they just have to be. This is how you start a good organization, not caring about the outside noise and go along with your plan.
And the problem is, though, is I don't think the outside noise is necessarily going to be the people. I think it's going to be Jimmy Haslam. I think it's going to be Jimmy. Like I firmly disagree with anything the local media is saying. I completely believe that Jimmy Haslam got a phone call from Deion Sanders, and he looked at Deion and was just like, "Listen, I'll take your kid. I'll be in your debt, whatever that means to Jimmy Haslam. I don't know."
But even like this, Shedeur character, Alex just put it in the comments. Look how he handled a prank call, bruv.
Yeah, like, and I'm glad you brought it up. So we're gonna get into the prank calls.
And he wasn't too. I want to just. He wasn't the only one who got a prank call. Yeah, like that happens, but he's the one.
He's the biggest
everybody's talking about.
Yeah. Right? Because he was streaming. He was working out and streaming. So we get it. Yep.
He had a good reaction to the prank call thing because it's like these other guys who got the prank call. It's like your call's gonna come. The NFL needs to do a shutdown because this isn't the only year this happened. I remember Cooper DeJean last year. Before he got drafted by the Eagles, he got a prank call, and he got drafted then like about half a round later. So Shedeur handled it very well. I don't think the kid is some like morally corrupt, like just like a prick. Like I don't think he is by any measures. I think his dad's a piece of work, and I think his dad has always kind of been a piece of work. His dad's able to get away with it because he was one of the best NFL cornerbacks of all time, as well as being an MLB baseball player, like a 2 professional sport athlete. His prowess speaks for itself. But don't kid yourself. I'm sure a lot of these teams, like Pittsburgh, who dealt with Le'Veon Bell sitting out, who dealt with Antonio Brown, the essentially going from a very humble kid to one Vontae's perfect CTE away from being like Kanye West of the NFL. This is a team that's like, yeah, we don't need headaches. We don't want headaches. They saw the Will Howard thing, saw he took Shador and was like, take the kid from Ohio State. He seems like an even kid. Seems like a hardworking kid.
I was going to ask this actually to both of you. Like, if we hadn't taken Shador, we traded up to get him. Do we really think he would have been taken? Like, I would have thought the Steelers maybe would have taken him if he was still there by the time he got to him. So you saying that, it's like, did we need to trade up? And it's like, I thought the Steelers would have probably taken him if he was still there, to be honest.
Dude, I heard a rumor and they were worried Philadelphia was going to draft him. I'm like, who gives a shit if Philadelphia drafts him?
We trade up for a throwaway pick, but I understand you saying trading up for another quarterback. I get
that's
that.
The thing. It's
but it was a throwaway pick.
Gabriel, it makes sense. We already had a quarterback, and we're not expecting the kid we drafted to start. What?
It was but the point is, it was a throwaway pick. So it's not about the pick. You know what I mean? It's just about we picked another fucking quarterback.
It's the draft strategy. That's the part that doesn't make sense.
Let me throw this to you guys. So we also will have 2 first-round picks as of now next year, Jacksonville's and then ours. Like, they're projecting, I thought, that next year was supposed to be kind of a little bit of a better draft class for stuff.
It is.
Too.
It is.
Yeah.
It's already.
So it's like watch us end up drafting a quarterback next year too. So then we're gonna have like 3 young quarterbacks, all in rookie contracts.
We're about to add so many jerseys to that graveyard I mentioned just in 1 year. We're about to add 3 new names to the jersey just this year. I'm telling you, man, I had a good idea with that one. That was a banger idea.
Wait, the 3 would be Pickett, Gabriel, and Sanders, you're saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They all end up playing like that. All of them 6 feet deep in the new stadium.
Flacco is already on there.
That was the thing. It's like, and that's why when they drafted Shador, I was like, in no way on their draft board where they were like, take the kid from Oregon in the 3rd and Shador Sanders will be there in the 5th. They didn't, because no one thought Shador would drop that far. Because like even by then, he was still on the board when they drafted Gabriel. That's why I was like,
well, Alex says it here. This pretty much sums up my point of we're going to let's get that Manning prodigy. Dude, that's what I'm talking about. Like, we could end up having there is a bunch next year. With our pick, end up picking like Archie Manning, who everybody loves. And, we got a Tennessee owner and all that. And
that's the thing. That's why
that's just another rookie quarterback. And we have no history of being able to develop quarterbacks.
No, I look at, funny enough, I think of obviously I like Baker. I pay attention to what Tampa Bay does too. They drafted Emeka Egbuka in the 1st round out of Ohio State, just gave him another weapon. But then, after we drafted Shador, they go and get Tez Johnson from Oregon, who's some stud receiver for them. He's an undersized kid. I do think that's a kid who needs to eat a couple cheeseburgers. You got to gain some more weight before you get in the NFL. But it's late rounds, go get some receivers. Maybe some of the, you want to know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of the kid that obviously he was drafted higher, but for Kansas City, God, he was the young kid from last year. I cannot think of his name, but just a speedster, just he's a gadget player. He could be pretty good. That's what I thought they were going to do in the 5th and 6th round. And then they traded up and got Shador. I was like, this doesn't make sense. From a drafting standpoint, you want to take a quarterback in the 1st and then in the 6th. It's sure, you need to draft the backup. You drafted 2 backups in one draft. We already have 4 quarterbacks. I was like, what are we doing? Where was the thought process on this? And then when you see the video of what's his name, Stefanski and Barry, just kind of slow, Barry wasn't even clapping. He looked pissed. He was I cannot believe I got overruled on this. I'm not going to get that out of my head. I'm not going to get that out of my head. But before we end this draft talk, I do want to talk about one individual that does work at the NFL draft. He works there every year. I don't know how he's still employed, other than he started this thing way before we were even just a swimmer in our dads, way back then. And that's Mel Kiper. And I think the NFL really, really, really needs to get rid of Mel Kiper, because he is the absolute worst. He's the biggest hypocrite. He was on Shador Sanders' watch the entire weekend, absolutely going off on the other analysts, saying I cannot believe everyone's so dumb to this. They're not getting it, without doing any self-reflection, I guess, on his own. This is the same guy who said if Jimmy Clausen didn't work out in the NFL, he was going to retire. And for you viewers that maybe aren't so privy to football players, college football in the NFL, and you're asking who Jimmy Clausen is, my answer is exactly. There's been plenty of he said LaDainian Tomlinson was not going to pan out in the NFL. What are we doing here? Why is he still employed? Get rid of him. He is obnoxious. He's horrible. He's such a pretentious. I'm not going to say it. Absolutely awful, awful person. And every year, Kuiper's picks best off the board. Literally after the first kid was taken on Thursday, the best kid on the board was Shedeur Sanders, and it lasted that way until the Browns took him at 144. I think he's an absolute complete liability to have, and there are plenty of others are up there, like Reese Davis, like very, very professionally shut him down, basically saying, calm the F down. And he kind of did, but then he went back in. But hey, kudos to Mel Kiper. He gave us an A+, which he had us at a B up until we drafted Shedeur Sanders in the 5th. So, I mean, I guess he knows football. I guess he's some savant, some genius. Dude, he called out the NFL and he's like, dude, none of these guys know how to draft for 50 years. It's like, yeah, it's called the draft. Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick, and he ended up being the greatest of all time. You don't know.
That's my hope with Shedeur, though. You say that, and that was something I thought about. It's like,
do not
Brady
make a Tom Brady comparison, Doug. Do not make a Tom Brady comparison. Shedeur Sanders.
That was his mentor.
So Shedeur Sanders is supposed to go in the 1st round. Nobody thought Tom Brady would get drafted. That is an awful comparison.
But you never know talent, man.
I understand that, but Tom Brady was not supposed to go, even be drafted potentially. He's drafted in the 6th round. Shedeur Sanders. We were on Shedeur watch from the instant the first pick stopped in the 1st round.
The thing is, we'd have never knew about Tom Brady if Drew Bledsoe never got injured.
Exactly. Exactly. Like,
but
no one thought
it worked out.
Dude, he was splitting time at Michigan in college, okay? To make the comparison, like, oh, he could be the next Brady. Shut up. Shut up.
It worked out.
Yeah. Anybody who makes that does not know.
But
like, Shedeur Sanders was supposed to be a 1st-round pick, and if it wasn't for his dad as his agent, he probably would have been. That's what this was.
He should have. Yeah, if that wasn't, yes, this is the will I like. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, I'm not ignorant to Shedeur's ability as a quarterback. That's why when they make the Tom Brady comparison, but I am going to sit around and be like, dude, Odell Beckham Jr. is the reason Baker Mayfield partially isn't on this team anymore. I can't even tell you Odell Beckham Jr.'s dad's name. I can assure you I would be able to spot Deion Sanders in a crowd.
This is why we need more sports topics on the show, Ricky, because Will just lights up on these topics.
But it's just, that's the thing when it comes back to this Shedeur thing. It's like a team was going to draft him at some point. He dropped in the draft because of intangibles not related to necessarily him on the football field. I don't think Shedeur, I have him like right neck and neck with like Jackson Dart. You like Jackson Dart less. I like Jackson Dart a little bit more, but not much more. It wasn't like here to here. It was like, yeah, they're like right here.
But
they're like right here.
The thing is,
some difference. You know,
people have been calling out Mel for years. You remember I think it's part of some documentary when the first NFL draft was
like back in the 70s.
Yeah, the Indianapolis Colts GM came out and was like, who the hell is this Mel Kiper? And so it's been going, and he's still there. So I don't know what he's doing right, or they just need it for the segment.
Dude, he's unemployed literally like 10 months out of the year, and he shows up in March and starts talking, and people listen to him like, oh, Mel might have an idea here. Shut up.
Mel and Todd.
Like, my God.
But I don't even listen to him. Like, honestly, I just watch college football a lot. So I just look and be like, oh, he's going to be nice. You know what I mean? I don't really.
Like, sure, he's got his intangibles on the football field that are good. He's got some that aren't good. Like, he's not a perfect product going into the NFL. He's not like your Joe Burrows or anyone, but like no one in this draft was. I don't even think Cam Ward necessarily is either. You know, so it wasn't like there was some home. If Tennessee didn't need a quarterback desperately, they wouldn't have drafted him 1 overall. Like,
they probably would not.
And we probably would have taken Cam Ward.
I would have taken Cam Ward. No one's doubting that Cam Ward should have been drafted over any other quarterback in this draft. But I'm not looking at Cam Ward at like recent other 1st-round quarterbacks and being like, oh, yeah, better than him. Not really, but that's fine. That's fine. It was a weak draft. And you're going to have those. That's okay. You know,
it's a weak draft at quarterback, but well-rounded at other positions.
Well-rounded at other positions. Like I said, I like the Mason Graham pick. I think he's going to be a stud. He was a stud at Michigan. If Mason Graham's everything like he's supposed to be, he'll be a stud for us on the defensive line. Next to Hall, right by Miles, you know, that Schweizinger out of UCLA. He's a very highly thought of linebacker. We're not sure how JOK is doing with his head injury or if he'll ever play again. Thoughts and prayers. I hope he does. He seems like a good kid, obviously a great player. We just don't know there. But like the two quarterback things, it's like in no way did I think
two running backs.
And the two running backs,
and the two running backs.
Nick Chubb, we got the Bowling Green tight end, who I think
do
is a
like
stud.
the tight end. I think that would be good.
Stud.
I do think we need a wide receiver, though. So 2 quarterbacks and 2 running backs, no wide receiver for offense. I was.
So what? We're not signing back Nick Chubb? Like he's still a free agent? What's going on?
I don't think so.
He wants more money than I think anyone wants to pay him after all those injuries. Think about it. Like he had that big injury, came back, only played part of the year, got hurt again.
Unfortunately,
Saquon had a big injury too.
Unfortunately for Nick Chubb, he fell privy to the running back curse, and they are more injury prone the older they get. The shelf life of a running back isn't that long. That's what makes players like Derrick Henry so special, because he's never really had like a huge injury like that. And I'm not saying Nick Chubb still doesn't have it in him, but when he did come back and play a little bit last year, I didn't quite see the Chubb of old. Not that his production was bad, but it's unfortunate. And it's like if Nick Chubb is
about to go to Kansas City and win a Super Bowl.
And that's the thing. That was like
him. Good for him if he does. He deserves it. I love Chubb.
He deserves it, but I love him. He's a humble giant. He's a humble beast, man. He reminds me of Marshawn Lynch without talking. You know what I mean? He's just a humble beast mode, bro.
And that's the unfortunate part, but it's like you get these 2 young running backs. Both are very good. There are some bright spots. Like this draft, I don't even view this draft as not a success, even after the Shedeur thing. It didn't make sense to me. And I don't think, and for like a lot of the people that say it makes sense to them, I'm just looking at them and be like, you thought on their draft board they had Shedeur Sanders in the 5th? Like, no one had that. No one had that, especially after you already took another quarterback. Now, if they only took one or the other, there's no real conversation. But the problem is they did, and it's like, why did we trade back then? Because funny enough, then you think about it, it's like we could have had Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders. That's like and that's also too why I'm like, yeah, Jimmy Haslam made a call. Jimmy Haslam definitely made a phone call, because no one would have thought like, oh yeah, the team that traded back out of Travis Hunter ended up drafting Shedeur Sanders later on in the draft. Everyone outside of Cleveland Browns fans who are just optimistically delusional, which a lot of them are, that's fine. You got to be. Yeah, I'm way too jaded as a person, like just in general, let alone as a fan of this sports franchise, to just be like, yeah, that makes sense. That's what we should do. Like when we traded back, I was like, cool, we're getting our quarterback next year. We get one fun year in the sun with Joe Flacco before he rides off into the beautiful, beautiful, great Hall of Fame career sunset that he so willingly deserves. And instead, I'm afraid we're going to be 6-7 weeks in and people are going to be demanding Shedeur Sanders starts, and I'm going to have to watch them bench Joe Flacco. That will hurt something in my cold, dark heart. Like that will just absolutely
dark heart.
All we can do right now, man.
That will bother me. And if you think about it too, if that happens because Deion Sanders says something, I'll be like, we've had 2 parents essentially, or 2 quarterbacks essentially force a good quarterback to not play for us anymore, with Deshaun Watson killing Baker, and now Shedeur Sanders potentially, maybe, we don't know yet, killing Joe Flacco.
Best thing for Deion, focus on Colorado.
Focus on Colorado. Please shut up. Please stop talking. I know that's going to be.
If you want to come to games, sure. Don't comment about nothing about the Browns.
Dude, this is coming from a short white kid in Ohio with a microphone in his face. Please, Deion, shut up.
Talk whatever you want. Just shut up about the Browns. Leave the Browns organization out of your mouth.
But outside of that, I think it was an exciting draft. One thing I will mention, though, I felt bad for the people that were drafted and didn't really get their moment kind of like celebrated because they were so heavy on Shedeur watch. And this isn't me going after Shedeur. This is me going after the NFL. Like, there were a lot of kids drafted that, like, I think when Shedeur was drafted by the Browns, they failed to mention like the next 4 or 5 kids that were drafted. And it's like, don't do that, man. Like, these are kids that are waiting for their dreams to be realized just as much as his were. That's kind of a bad precedent to set. I remember Cam Moore got drafted, and like I don't know, maybe I'm wrong on this. And if I am, someone in the comments or whoever watches this, please correct me. But I think when like Cam Moore like was about to like give his speech, like to like the reporter afterwards, they started talking about like not the reporter, but like just the draft committee just started talking about Shedeur Sanders. I was like, don't do that, man. Let these kids have their moment. These kids have their moment. They might not even be signed by the team eventually. So like, just give them their moment in the sun, you know? So I don't necessarily think the NFL handled the Shedeur watch the best. And I understand why they really highlighted it, because it was the most it's still the most talked about thing. We're talking about it right now, but it left a weird monetized taste in my mouth that it just didn't fit for me. So, I don't know. Ricky, give me your wrapping thoughts on this, because I think we've kind of really delved into the draft, and we kept it pretty cordial. I mean, we did kind of go hash it out about Shedeur a little bit, but I mean, we both kind of came to a somewhat consensus. You're logical enough to be like, he shouldn't be starting really quickly, or maybe not even at all. So I'm kind of with you on that. So just give me your wrapping thoughts here.
If the GOAT is mentoring my quarterback coming in the league, and the quarterback had a decent career, he ain't do nothing. He's just a flashy dresser and shit. You know what I mean? I would take it. He don't party much. I'll take it. The Browns, they should have just grabbed him in the third instead of Dylan Gabriel if their draft board was Shedeur over Gabriel.
Right.
I hope for the best, because I love my Cleveland Browns. We could be 0-18, 0-17. I'm still gonna be a dog. So but I just hope for the best. I want the best. And I hope Deion just focus on Colorado. You have the number one quarterback recruit from last year. Y'all need to step it up this year, because I watch Colorado religiously, just like Ohio State now, because of Deion. So I just hope he stays in Colorado, focus on his team, and let his son develop and grow. Because if you don't take this as a sign, as NFL owners sending you a message, not even the GMs or nothing, the owners sending you a message like, you don't run shit, and this league gonna be here after your son is gone, just like it's here after you're done with your career, Hall of Famer GOAT. Just stay out of it. Yep. You know what I mean? Don't even say he played good this week. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear him saying he played good this week. I want to hear nothing about Shedeur. Nothing.
Yep. You know what, Ricky? I appreciate you. You are the optimistic Browns fans that this town so desperately is filled with and needs, because I get funny enough, it was Saturday, and after Shedeur got drafted, I was in a Chick-fil-A drive-thru about to meet my friends after a bar at like his house, and like he immediately asked me about it, and I was like, essentially, it was like, it doesn't make sense. 3rd and 5th round, like that's when we decided to take quarterbacks. He's like, why you got to be negative, such a negative Nancy about it? And I quoted the Hound from Game of Thrones, and I was just like, experience. That's all it is. Just 31 years of experience. Dougie fresh in the corner. Give me your thoughts.
Overall, the main reason I found this draft so enjoyable was the Shedeur watch. I mean, it was kind of after he dropped out of the first, it's like, okay, he'll get picked the second. Then he drops out of the second. Okay, the third. But as a whole, it was a good draft, I think. I do agree with you, Will. The coverage, they really focused on Shedeur. Like that's part of the reason I watched, but they didn't have to make their coverage constantly just going, well, they didn't pick Shedeur, talking about Shedeur, showing Shedeur sitting at home waiting to be picked. It just took a lot of the focus away. But go Browns. We'll be back. Me and Will, Alex, we'll be back for our Sunday football reviews when the season comes back, and we'll get all into this stuff.
I'll be honest, I cannot wait to hear a fearless leader on Sunday football review talking about Shedeur Sanders after week 7 when he's starting. That will be fun.
I was kind of excited. I thought Shedeur was with the Jamaican artist. I was like, yo, Jamaica about to be up in Cleveland too. Like, I thought it was about to be a lit situation, but no, they ain't together. It was just a publicity shit. But hey, he's born in the light. That's the camera light. He's gonna remain in there.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see if Showtime ends up being a waste of time. On to our next topic. Order in the court. We have a power outage in Europe, particularly as well. I haven't really looked 100% really into it, but I do know 2 places that it happened in. One is Spain and one is Portugal. Now, I think the reason why I highlighted those 2 countries is we have a direct bulletin radio
and on-the-ground report.
On-field report from our fearless leader, and I think you will hear it best from him. Doug, take it over.
Hey guys, reporting to you from Lisbon, Portugal. We just left Porto yesterday, right in Lisbon today. Oddly enough, we were on a wine tour in the middle of these catacombs when all the lights like flickered off, and I just thought they were setting an ambiance. Turns out there was one of the largest power outages in EU history across Europe. Now, the main focus of reports have been on Spain and Portugal, but it is also being reported that it affected Germany, Poland, and France. But in those locations, it was most predominantly focused on airports. So it does seem like it was targeted, but oddly enough, we're getting a lot of mixed reports. It really depends on where you're at, and that dictates the news in which or how it's being framed. So I want to kick it off with how it was first reported to me. This is how a lot of the locals in Portugal were experiencing it and how it was being reported to them. A lot of people there or here in Europe speak through WhatsApp. And so WhatsApp and all of the people were discussing kind of this main report. So take it with a grain of salt because it comes from Brussels and it's Brussels CNN. So, you know. So, in an unprecedented wave of cyber assaults, critical infrastructure across Europe was targeted early Monday in what officials are calling one of the largest coordinated cyber attacks in history. European Union cybersecurity agencies have pointed to Russian state-backed groups as the primary suspects behind the widespread disruptions. Power grids, financial institutions, airports, and healthcare systems across more than 15 countries were affected. Several major European banks reported temporary outages, and airports in Frankfurt, Paris, and Madrid experienced system failures that caused extensive flight delays. Emergency services in parts of Germany and Poland were forced to revert to analog communications after losing digital capabilities. Quote, "This is a direct attack on European sovereignty," said European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen at a press briefing. "We will respond with unity, strength, and resilience." The Kremlin has officially denied involvement, dismissing accusations as baseless and provocative. At the same time, NATO forces reported unusual naval movements in the North Atlantic, according to U.S. European Command. At least 6 Russian naval vessels, including 2 destroyers and submarines, were detected maneuvering near critical undersea cable routes between Europe and North America. Additional Allied naval assets have been deployed in response to what a senior Pentagon official describes as a significant and deliberate show of force. This pattern of behavior is deeply concerning, said Admiral James Thornton, commander of NATO's Allied Maritime Command. "We are closely monitoring all maritime traffic and are prepared to safeguard transatlantic security." Now, I pointed out the CNN aspect because this is quite literally the only source that has pointed towards Russia. We obviously were the first to experience it, and as I throw the story back home, a lot of family and friends are like, "We're seeing nothing about this." Hours later, they're starting to see things about it, but nothing pointing to Russia. Now, in America, to my understanding, there were reports that it did seem to be a cyber attack, but they kept saying it was unknown who the attackers were. So it's left us kind of in this haze of confusion because we're not getting clear transparency on what occurred, who was affected, and who should we be looking at to say you're the culprit. So with all that being said, take a look at this clip in Madrid because it shows how it's hard to explain. You kind of just have to experience it. But the traffic of how the streets and traffic navigation goes on here, it's chaotic, heavily relied upon their lights. And it's because it's all these interweaving roads, and it turned to straight chaos. Take a look. Now, being in Portugal, I gotta say, there's really not much here, and it doesn't seem like the Portuguese are much of a threat to anybody. However, their network is heavily integrated into the Spanish electric network. And with Barcelona and Madrid being so deeply affected, it does seem like it could be that they were a more prominent target, and Portugal was just a side symptom to what occurred. But with all that being said, other major countries that also felt the impact of this, it wasn't their whole grid that went down, but heavily targeted airports, banks. We're talking about pertinent institutions that were affected by this. Now, it was a miserable day in Porto. Everything was dead. I mean, we're talking food. We are so used to just getting free water. You sit down, the government says you're owed free water. That's not here. Nor do you want it, because the water here is undrinkable. So to not be able to go to stores and purchase water, I'm cottonmouth talking to you guys right now. It's been very difficult to kind of stay hydrated, stay fed, and you kind of see how it all fell to disarray as soon as it happened. So here are some things that I wanted to address. So hopefully the guys in the room have some meat on the bone to pick at for you. But I went to Grok to kind of figure out, because this isn't the first, with our goldfish syndrome memory, we forget that what occurred in Baltimore, a boat just driving into a bridge, all signs pointed to a cyber attack. And once all the dust settled, that's pretty much what we've taken away from that. Hence why we haven't heard any updates or any words about it. It's kind of fallen by the wayside. So I wanted to address that this isn't a foreign experience of recent. This seems to be a more mounting problem across different areas, and I wanted to remind you of some of the instances that we've experienced in the past. So beyond the massive power outages in Spain, Portugal, France, Poland, who Russia likes targeting Poland, and Germany, we had Morocco's internet outage in 2024, the Anne Arundel County government shutdown. This was in Maryland, also, similar to the Baltimore situation. We also had a global IT outage from CrowdStrike, which we had covered on the Rethink Tank, and that was huge. It had major impacts in businesses across America and the world. The Kazakh diplomatic cyber attack just this past January, suspected Russian hackers executed a spearship attack against Kazakh diplomatic entities, embedding malicious code in documents, including one allegedly outlining a German Central Asia agreement. The attack aimed at cyber espionage rather than disruption. We also had the Italian government websites targeted in early January. A pro-Russian hacking group claimed responsibility for cyber attacks on Italian government websites, including ministries, public services, and transportation platforms in Rome and Palermo. The attack was reportedly in retaliation for Italy's support for Ukraine. So, with all that being said, who do we look to? What can we anticipate with this? Clearly, something is being coordinated and it isn't being communicated to the public. And I can't help but kick up old dust, pick at old scabs, right? When you look at the pandemic, I look at something there and they weren't giving us information. Trust the science, trust the experts. Hey, that's a Mr. Douglas classic. Douglas Murray will shut up and trust the experts. But the experts lie to us. They don't tell us the information so we can come to our own conclusions. They tell us information as to achieve a specific result. So I can't help but raise this past that has led us to this current situation, because there's all these different attacks or incidents, and nobody's telling us the facts. What happened in Baltimore? Why does Grok have to tell me about half of these other cyber attacks I've never heard of before? Why are there attacks on Maryland's infrastructure beyond just that bridge? Now they're going after schools? What's in Baltimore? Or is this just all one massive coincidence? So, with all that being said, I look forward to doing more of a in-deep recap of my experiences here in Europe because there's a lot to unpack, and I think it also carries over to our experience in America, things we should get excited about, things we should be proud about, but then also things that maybe we should have our ear to the ground with. With all that being said, though, it does seem most of the problems have been corrected, most power is back, and the people are celebrating. That being said, because on the Rethink Tank, we report things trending and recently popping up, one of the narratives I wanted to bring back home was how crazy it was that it's being heavily reported that in Spain and specifically Barcelona, they're attacking tourists and, they're against tourism. We get in our Uber's like, that's just propaganda BS. Everywhere we went, it was a wonderful time. So I definitely thought it was propaganda BS. We arrived in Lisbon today. Take a look at what happened in Barcelona, right outside of the major, what's probably going to become a ninth wonder of the world in 15 years when it's finally done. But their major cathedral, we had protesters attacking tourists again. Take a look. So I feel a need to report this because myself, mostly, but also the people of Barcelona are so lucky they waited a week because I would not have allowed this to be that easy for them. I cannot believe this is going on, considering you have nothing in your infrastructure beyond me throwing you my euros. So let me pass it back off to my friends in the studio. I'm excited to hear their take on all of this as I inquire what we think might be going on, especially because we're not getting a clear narrative. Leave it to CNN to point fingers at Russia, but I'm also left sitting here wondering who else could it be, especially when some of the focuses are NATO and Poland. So, guys, let me hear your thoughts. Cannot wait to be joining you guys in the studio next week. Peace.
So real quick, Will, I'll kick it back to you in a second, but I just want to touch on Gergat's last comment there at the end. He wouldn't let this stand. And we were just talking about a YouTuber who got arrested for doing stuff like wherever that was. It's like, man, I almost wish Alex would have been there for this because then next week we might have been talking about the American YouTuber we all know and love arrested during a riot.
Okay, here's really what I think going on, Alex, if you're listening. I think you unplugged the router and shut off. You're over there, you're trying to get a couple drops in off the battle bus, have a couple rounds with Allison, maybe just by yourself, kind of like leisurely playback, cut off the power, and now there's a problem. On a serious note, I'm glad we're not the only ones with like ridiculous problems.
Hang on, Will.
What do you say?
Alex is saying you're muted. Did you touch something up there? There you go.
Alex, you unplugged the damn router over here, too.
I told you not to touch stuff, Will.
My lord.
I
You
tried.
gotta read it.
Alex,
you want to know who I really think's in charge? Want to know who I really
tried.
think? Them. Right there.
Well,
that's who I think.
I mean, Doug, you gotta read the chats, bro. You gotta read the chats, Doug.
Oh, shit. Ricky was commenting that you were off just a minute ago.
Oh, oops. Well, Alex,
user error, Will. See, it's not easy to sit in Alex's chair.
It's not easy being in the big guy's chair, okay? It's not easy being in the big man's chair. It is interesting. It is funny. Like, you happen to be over there for like two completely historic moments, like one with the succession of the Pope going on, and now this, which came out of left field.
He happened to be exactly where this was going.
Literally, you were in the fray. Literally, you were exactly in the fray. I think you did it. I think you did it, my buddy. I think you did it, my guy.
Yeah. Do you need to re-mention the unplugging? You went on a whole
the
rant
bit's gone.
there.
The bit's gone and passed. I missed it. I screwed it up. User error on me. I think it's absolutely insane. One, I don't even know about this cathedral that you talked about, so I am looking forward to hearing you.
Yeah, I didn't know they were building a new cathedral either. I thought most cathedrals in Europe were like, the ancient ones that we kind of know about.
I thought they were the ones that the movie Gargoyle was based off of, but I guess they're making a new one. Yeah, I mean, it is funny. It is funny, though, too, Alex, like when you're over there, right, and they have their own issues and riots that we can't even fully explain, which they get even less publicity than the ones over here are going on. I'm sure. I'm very curious to hear what you have to say about Spaniards and
news coverage.
What are they, Spaniards and what do they call them? Portuguese. Wow, I am so uncultured.
Just like the language, their language is Portuguese.
I'm so uncultured. I wonder what they have to say about like all the news and stuff, because I'm sure they've got to hear so much of it that's coming from over here. Doug made a mention. He showed me a thing that Spain has ruled it out as a cyber attack, which doesn't make. I think, Doug, you made a mention that they said it might be weather, which I don't know. In the background of Alex's video, it didn't look like it was raining or crazy weather or something like that. So
Alex has been, so this happened, and then I found out today it was going to be a topic, but I had been Googling this since Alex kind of told us it was going on. And I hadn't seen anything specifically, at least here. Alex did make a point to say, like, over there, they're talking about it. But here, in our news sources and what I can find, I hadn't seen anything that said cyber attack. And most said they ruled out it as of now, though.
Yeah.
So
I remember my parents asked about it, and they just said there was like a power outage.
I read one thing that
got me thinking, like maybe someone like unplugged a router or something.
I read one thing that it was like that I guess the temperature or something caused like the grid to malfunction or something. I guess it was back on by like later that night though or something.
It didn't take long, but like it is crazy to think that a power outage of like that can like completely stop a country, multiple countries' infrastructure for hours on end, to which they are definitely wondering what is going on.
Well, remember, too, though, we can say what we all think it is now. It's this, it's that. You're right, I'm right. But, like, remember the giant power outage we had here in the U.S. in, like, the early 2000s, like, post-Y2K?
Yeah.
Whole East Coast, parts of Canada went out for, like, a couple days, I think it was. Took us forever to figure out the exact cause of that, and it was an accident at some power station that cascaded through all the systems.
If I'm being honest, I had no idea about this.
Yeah,
maybe just because
you remember that outage, though. Yeah. Well, I looked it up, and I guess like there was some event somewhere, overload, that ended up spreading. That's what I had read, but like it was the whole East Coast part of Canada. It took us a while to figure out what actually caused that. So it's like I suspect it'd be a while until we even know what really happened.
It was the Canadians. I bet you it was the Canadians. It was silent. He was a wee young lad who just wanted to play more Xbox Live and shut down the whole Eastern Seaboard's power. Yeah, crazy story. Alex, you have my full sympathy, man. I would hate to be in a foreign country, especially that close to where a couple more international conflicts are going on, and have the complete power shut out. I can't only wait to hear what the stories that you have to say. But especially the people, like the Spanish people attacking tourists, like, wow. Don't you have anything better to do? Like, we're literally here on our vacation. We actually asked our work to come and do this.
And we're spending all of our hard-earned American dollars that are valued more than yours.
Yeah, that's insane. It is funny that we have Alex, you're in the chat. Is anything going on like Pope succession? Like, do you even hear much about it?
Well, he's in Portugal, bro. He's not in Rome.
I get that, but like,
that's no different than us being here and hearing things.
Yeah, I know, but like, I don't know. I think European countries have more like, I don't know, since they're all considered individual countries. I understand the United States is kind of,
but they're more connected though, because you can take a train from France to Spain. You know what I mean?
That's what I mean. Like everything's
they're more
like a hop and skip away.
Yeah, it's not like U.S. and Canada where you have to go through.
Oh, dude, if I was Alex,
shit like that,
I would have blown off the Portugal trip, and he would have avoided this whole thing, and would have gotten on a train to go to Rome. Because to be in Rome for the death of a pope and start of the selection, probably like he wouldn't be there for everything, but to be there during this time is rare.
Can you imagine if this whole entire power outage just happened during the 21 Pilots concert?
Oh, Alex,
that would have been a story. That would have been the story. He wouldn't even. He would have started a vendetta against whoever causes.
Yeah, I don't think that video our correspondent had on, it would have been that calm.
No, that was very calm, calculated. He gathered his thoughts. He wouldn't have gathered a single thought. He would have. He was like, dude, we were halfway through, stressed out, and let me tell you right now, man, I am stressed out.
Right. But to some things that he said, like, it's scary. Each country has their own shit going on, so I understand where the taxi drivers say, "Oh no, it's not like this," because if you ask a taxi driver here, they're about a BLM protest. Yep. They're probably like, no, it's not often, but it can happen next week again. It probably. So I get it. It's scary that we rely so much on technology. Mm-hmm. So once the power is gone, like from our phones, can't tap and pay. You have to go in the handy wallet. Oh, credit card machine is down. So you need cash. Can't go to the ATM. So you better have it. And then if you don't have a car or something, you want to, how to travel. If that happened in US, it will be more disruptive, especially like today.
With game over.
And then they say US power infrastructure is not as secure. You can just walk up to a power plant, like them towers and shit. Like, so it can happen. I hope it don't happen, but if it does, I'm gonna start gathering my canned goods and my survival
crazy
pack.
It hasn't happened, considering how accessible and easy it could be to disrupt it.
And other thing is that he talked about was different conflicts that we're not hearing about. Is because I really think the feed of information that we're getting in, we can't care about everyone's problem. Right. And there's a great example here in the US. We get so much news just from here. We can't just care about everyone's problem, and everyone's problem's not gonna come across our feed, So.
And the thing is too, it's like, is it like a big like cyber attack, or was it just like some human error? And the problem is like we over here, like Alex, you obviously more on the ground, like you have a better understanding of what probably happened, or like a better idea, or like more theories. But like over here, like I'm telling you, the day it happened, it was just like, yeah, there's a power outage in Spain and Portugal. And I kind of got a half chuckle because I knew I was like, he's pissed.
Yeah.
he's not happy right now.
He was texting us. He's like, my phone's on 60% and dying. And I'm like, why are you texting us?
Yeah, brother, you might need the Maps app, but like over here, like, there was not much like on the mainstream media or even like social media.
Nothing
like,
on the news,
really
like TV video news. I didn't really hear much about this.
Oh, yeah.
But on the news, like internet, CNN articles, like stuff, there was plenty of that. But news, TV news, didn't really mention this.
That is just
isn't Europe like ancient, anyways? As Doug said earlier, how strong is their infrastructure and shit? Like they have specific cable. Like you can't even travel with your own chargers. I hear to Europe. Dude, so it's like they always have outages. I always hear about Europe having outages.
Yeah, and
maybe not this big.
That cab driver, Alex, his sister wouldn't say a word, but Alexander would be in the car, and be like, "Hey, buddy, what's going on?" And he'd be like, "What do you mean? It's a Tuesday. It could be anything. I don't care." Like it's just like how like nonchalant they probably were about it. But like us as Americans, just over there being like, "This is not chill, dude. Not chill.
That is not a chill, bro."
Yeah. He gets out of it. He gets out of the Uber with his 60% iPhone and goes 1 star. Totally not stressed about the outage. That was his review. That would have been.
He put it in a comment. It's not that we're not supposed to cover it. We are the eyes that cover the little news that no one's covering. But not every dot I feel as connect. You know, not every dot connects to everything, but especially individual countries. But Europe, I guess, as I stated earlier, they're very connective. So
yeah, it'd be like going from like Cleveland to like Indiana. It's like that's how close it is. It's like it's right. Yeah. It's literally a different country with its own set of rules and infrastructure. It is kind of crazy to like be that interconnected and that close. Whereas like here, it's like we're on the same infrastructure as the entire Eastern Seaboard. You know, I haven't even.
And only way for Europe to flip shit is like if the whole country goes down. If the East Coast goes down, the economy will still survive on the West. Like if the West goes down, we're still going. It will still survive some way somehow.
The whole EU would go under for like 12 hours and call up the administration, ask for money like Ukraine. They'd be like, "Get it over here, dude. We're starving." And some canned goods, man. We don't know what happened here. Oh my god. Well, I guess Doug, you have any wrapping thoughts on this crazy power outage?
I think it's hilarious that Alex happens to be there.
It is funny. It is like, we love you, dude. We love you, dude. We can't wait to hear about it.
I feel like though Russia may have waited because Gerget's saying the whole thing. I think Russia's listening to us, and Russia was waiting.
They were watching and hearing us.
They were waiting for him to be there. They're like, "We're gonna get him. We're gonna get him."
They just had bad intel. They thought he was going to the other 21 Pilots show. They totally missed the show. They're like, "Damn it, we missed it."
It was all an elaborate plot to ruin the 21 Pilots show. We all know it.
That is insane. Ricky, you got anything else?
Man. It's a scary world we live in.
It's an evil world we live in, man. It's an evil world we live in. All right, on to the last topic. Last one on the docket. Order in the court. Our current administration, actually, Doug, correct me on this. Have they passed officially 100 days, or are we reaching 100 days?
I believe we are reaching 100 days. I don't think it's been it yet.
Really? Only reaching 100 days? Because if you listen to one side of the party, it sounds like it's been 100 freaking years. So we are finally at the current administration's 100 days, and we kind of want to give a little bit of a recap. Our administration currently has been exceptionally busy these first 100 days or almost 100 days, whether it is finding political corruption, financial corruption, just poking the bear that is the opposite side of their aisle, poking the bear that is some giant body of water south of the border that is now the entire North American borders water.
Oh, apparently today is Trump's 100th
well,
day.
I'll be goddamn, we made it. We made it, boys. 100 days. 100 days and what? For more than 3.5 years? And Jesus, man, Bloody Mary, you would think it'd been like 300 lifetimes. I personally, if I were to give him a grade, we gave our draft grades. I'm the optimist that I am. I'm giving the Browns an A++. A++, go Browns. But now, for the current administration, I'm going to give them a B+. Hasn't been perfect. Took some swings and misses. Some things that I'm not even sure if they've really come to fruition. The economy, not the greatest, not the worst. But, he's shaking it up a little bit. He's shaking it up. I'm tariffing you. I'm tariffing them. I'm tariffing China. That's what he's been doing, but I am getting exactly personally what I voted for. So C+ or B- from the faithful leader, and I think that's a fair grade. I think that's a fair grade. I don't think it has been an A. I think if anybody's saying an A, they are a little too optimistic about everything that's getting done. I don't think they really have much of a altering opinion on matters as well. But what I will say, what I'm going to give them an A on is interacting with the public at sporting events. In celebrating champions. It's not a major thing. This isn't a super like him doing like a policy or anything like that. But it is nice to see the commander-in-chief represent the regular folk for their accomplishments, whether it's a sports achievement or something smaller than that. Just showing up to a national wrestling championship, going to the UFC. It's nice to see our president out there among the people, shaking their hands, enjoying the life that we also like to enjoy, because we're not in the rooms when they're making these decisions. We're not the individuals making these decisions. We are just the ones that are commenting on it. So I'm going to bump it over to Ricky. Ricky, what are your thoughts on the first 100 days of this administration?
As you guys are said, I had to state this first. This is why I fuck with y'all niggas. All right. Y'all some fair guys. Y'all ain't blind. Y'all ain't got no blinders on. I thought y'all was about to come out here and just throw out A's. You get an A, you get an A. You know what I mean? There's been some good. There has been.
Dude, do you think we're Oprah? Everybody gets an A.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought you was gonna be. You know what I mean? But this is why I fuck with y'all. This is really honest why I fuck with y'all, because y'all don't die on a party. Y'all look at shit objective and give your honest opinion based off everyday work in person. And I love that.
Dude, Ricky, I've always tried to say, I try to be more independent than one party or the other. I've always, since we started this show, that's what I've always tried to say is, I can see, I go both ways. Like, I agree with them, and I agree with them.
Whoa. Hey, yo, what do you mean you go both ways?
Screw you, Ricky.
What I will say is there's been a heavy median, and I think what I like about the show and like the conversations we have is we try to have a nice median of like both sides of the argument. Obviously, there are things we agree on, things we do not agree on. One of the things, like, I give him a B+, but a lot of my B+ is like, I do like the fact that there is like an interaction with the public more so than we saw in the last administration. Trying to like connect with like the average day individual. Like I want to believe they understand the plight of like the economy. It is struggling. I think the one side that's hyper focused on the market doesn't understand that the market eventually goes back up. You kind of got to let that one go. The Doge found a lot of like corruption. The one thing I'm very critical on, and the one thing like I definitely voted for him to not be doing, is having these foreign affairs that could lead to potential war. I know there's like a lot of conversation right now with like Iran. Like there's like some rumors, some like kind of murmurings that like there may be a war in Iran. Ukraine is still going on. Obviously, the two countries that we do not want to talk about, that they still have their conflict that's been going on for centuries, but we're still, funneling money into them. That I'm not a fan of. The whole thing with the Houthis, whoever the hell they are. That's how non-serious I take it. But like we have an issue with them, using our military on them. I'm not a fan of that. I give that a solid D-, leaning towards an F right now, because one thing I admired about his first administration is there was no real foreign issues to that scale, or like even teetering on that scale getting towards. The economy isn't perfect, but I think I do like what he's doing with the tariffs. I like that he's shaking it up. I think that we shouldn't be the global police of the financial alley. When you really take a look, like I want to build up the American economy by building here. I currently drive a Subaru. My next car will for sure be, I know. I drive a Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo. My next car will be from an American manufacturer, and it'll probably be that way for the rest of my life, because I want to promote American-made companies, American-made products. I want us to build back our economy the way in which I feel this country is completely capable of doing, and I think the tariffs are a good avenue to start doing that.
Nudge it in the right way.
In the short term, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be tough, but tough times make strong people.
Dude, Will, that's kind of where I agree with you on the tariff stuff. Is like we're not old, but we're old enough to still remember when a lot more things used to be made in America,
right? And
almost everything now is made not in America, and maybe final assembly in America. Right. Like that's the point. We're just the final assembly hub, and I remember so much more things having the made in America on the back. Not anymore.
I can agree with that, because as a young lad in Jamaica, a young youth, that is what I say in Jamaica. Used to we had project where we had to look up labels, get nutrition, and see where they're made. I used to find American-made stuff.
We did that too, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Type shit. But now, if you go, everything is China.
Yep.
Dang, 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 dang.
China,
Okay.
Vietnam,
They're gonna cancel me.
Thailand,
Asian country, Thailand,
yeah.
yeah.
Indonesia, it's
Mhm.
all over there.
You know, it's cheap
Yeah.
labor, and
Cheap
you know,
labor.
we as
But
Americans, we
no,
know what that labor is.
yeah,
Like we 100% know what that labor is, and I'm not a
and
fan of that. So
they want as Americans, we gonna want to get paid for the labor. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Which is okay. It just makes everything work better. It makes your people have more pride.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They have something to look towards. More pride in the country. Because one thing I hate is someone that don't like the America and they're living it in America. I hate that. I hate it so much because, as you said, you're going to buy American in your next vehicle, and nothing wrong with Subaru. Subaru is a very reliable car,
I like
very
my car,
safe.
but yeah,
It's just the fact that you brought up the Subaru.
I drive a Subaru.
Ricky,
I'll be honest, I drive a Subaru because I'm gay.
Ricky, you talk about buying American, all right? My family has only bought GM cars, one
Okay.
Ford, all right? But my
Really?
whole family, all of them, GM. Okay,
I'm a Honda
my dad
person,
just
so-
bought a GMC Acadia.
That's what my mom
It
drives.
was final assembly in the U.S., but Mexico and Canada parts, and like where's most of it. My Chevy Equinox, same thing. Mexico and Canada, final assembly in the U.S. My mom's Buick assembled 80% in China, and then like final assembly in the US. So, dude, there. Even if you buy an American car, you know what? American cars are actually built in the US. It's like Toyota.
Yep.
Like Toyota is actually built in the US. The American brands aren't even actually built here anymore.
Hondas are made in the US as well,
Yeah.
which is kind of crazy. But back to the topic at hand. The Trump thing, I'll give it a C plus.
Okay.
Because it's been good, it's been bad. And every president has good and bad. It's just we have to be honest, like y'all been honest about what's the good and what's the bad. We can't just be blind like Dems are being blind about, oh, it's just all bad, it's just all bad. People get hyper focused too much on one thing, and when they jump to the next thing, it's another problem. Instead of the next thing, they go find the actual result or go do their own homework in a real way. But so I say C plus. There's room for improvement with everything, and I hope the economy is going to go through a rough time, and it's going to get back up because it's just the way the work. The U.S. is too big to fail. It will never fail. So whoever is saying that needs to get a reality check.
Well, dude, you say that too. So the one thing too is Trump threatens all these tariffs. Well, all of a sudden we got all these countries and places wanting to make new deals with us. So it's like,
and that's what you gotta do. You gotta make deals.
And
The
that's
art
the
of the deal.
thing.
You know, if you just sit there compliant, they're just gonna keep fucking with you. They're just gonna keep taking advantage. You can't
we're
just
talking,
keep.
and we're talking 100 days in general. All right, we're just talking about the tariffs right now. As a whole, from what the numbers I've seen looking in the news, the border stuff have gone down significantly since Trump has kind of started enforcing that stuff. So, you know, like if part of the 100 days, I think he's won the border. And that is one place I know I've seen where his numbers actually seem to be the highest, as people do approve of his handling of the border and immigration there.
And it's funny enough, you mentioned like his numbers on the border have gone up, but like his deportation numbers are not as ridiculous as people were like making him out to be. Like he's really not just like deporting people like left and right. Like, you know, they really
Maybe one or two, but
yeah, like it's never going to be perfect, but like
they
definitely wanted to go for the criminals, the individuals that have a record here. And, you know, like, again, those are things like that I personally voted for, you know. You know, it's not been perfect, but it's never going to be perfect. And
exactly,
it's just, for me, it's like whenever I think of like it's just been 100 days, and even an individual who voted for this administration, I was just like, my lord, like they've made this feel like not like
so
the
much
administration,
longer,
but like the media, the individuals have made it feel like the longest 100 days of my life.
Elon been out for a minute, and like, yo, it's you know what I mean?
That actually was super quiet. Like they really kept that low key.
Yeah, but it felt like it was so long. But it was like what, 2 months? But it felt like it was for years.
Yeah.
Elon was there. It doesn't make sense. And yes, Alex, Rome fell, but America economy, the way the world works off everybody, free trade and everybody connected.
Yep.
Oh, you can't hear me?
No, I was saying everything's interconnected. Yeah.
Yeah, everything is interconnected. So it's very hard. I don't think American economy ever gonna fail. You may switch regimes or whatever, but it's still gonna be.
I am kind of with Alex though, where I do think like the empire will die in some degree, and I hope we just get to at least enjoy the spoils of the last remaining years of the empire. Now that is Alex and I completely
only way the empire falls.
Tim Dillon
is AI
there. So,
but AI start making their own bodies in a magical factory somewhere. That's the only way it's gonna fail. Like a complete takeover, shut down. They shut down the grid. So some fucking AI system just shut down the whole grid. That's the only way. But human works and wise, America is not gonna fail.
Well, I will give this administration credit for, and I think that's kind of the reason why I lean towards a B. Again, the B plus is mainly like I do like the fact that like he is enjoying, like he is like taking time to like meet people in the public whenever he's out at like events like this stuff. But a big thing too is I'm glad he got in and started shaking things up again, because this country needed things to be shaken up for better or worse, depending on which side you are on. And that's why some of us voted for that. It's like the way it was going the previous 4 years was I don't want this to continue going on for 4 more years. We need to have some sort of shake up in certain degrees. Some I agree with, some I do not. But it was something that it's like for 100 days for one side to make it feel like it's been like 1,000 years is why I leaned more towards like, yeah, it's not been awful. Sure, it may not have been great, but it hasn't been awful as the way the other side is making it out to be.
I do have one thing I want to share with you guys.
Sure.
I found some stuff on Trump Online. And that's Alex.
Alex.
Yeah. So like Alex always says, they got
that face right there. That face right there is C plus B minus right there. that face right there was his C plus B minus.
So this is the number of executive orders presidents have done the first 100 days, and Trump is the highest at 142, nice. Even more than Roosevelt, who like the 100-day mark is a thing because of him, because he took over in the first 100 days, got all these things enacted to try and get us out of the depression and everything. Yep. So that's where the 100-day mark comes from. That's kind of why, if you look, he's the first president kind of on there, is because the 100-day mark started with him. So him making that whole thing a thing and getting us out of the depression, 99 executive orders. Trump, 142 executive orders in 100 days. So what do you guys think about that?
Like I said, it was an administration getting in, completely shaking up what was previously going on.
And one thing I don't like though, that I'm hearing rumbles about, I don't know how true or not it is this 3-term shit. Okay.
Yeah, I was just about to bring that up.
That's not possible, dude. I know
it's not possible. But Trump is like, there's certain shit Trump is doing, like kind of rewriting the Constitution a little way.
Yes, but here's the thing, though, Ricky, is that I'm a history man and I know my American history. That is a constitutional amendment, all right? So that would take a constitutional amendment to undo it, and there's no way Trump will be cognitive aware by the time an amendment would even be passed to make that.
No, we know that, but
just for the fact it's in the air,
don't say it. Like, don't be like promoting that. Like that's poking the bear in such a dumb way.
And he's giving ammunition to his enemies. You know what I mean? He's giving ammunition to his opposition. And what you don't need or care about, but like that's not America, bro. You say America first, that's not American. If there's one thing I can think of not being American, and it's that.
Yeah, like if he was going out and saying the exact opposite, like, dude, you want to know what would be even funnier if he got out and then be like, dude, in 4 years, you're never going to hear from me again. That would be even funnier, because the whole other side would be like, they'd lose their mind. They're like, who are we going to talk about? What do you mean you're not going to be around? Who are we going to talk about? That's what he should be saying. You shouldn't be saying Trump 2028. That's stupid. That's idiotic. There's a constitutional amendment in place to do so, but even if there wasn't one to do so, right? Even if there wasn't one to do so, it was just more like status quo. You just do the 2, and then
it was because George Washington, man, he stepped away after 2, could have done more. People wanted him to. He stepped away after 2. This is how history goes, is because he didn't want to be seen as a tyrant because we were just coming off of that. Now, what do we know that's why? It could have been he was just old or sick or something. But that's what he told the people, and that's what stuck. That's why for so long you only did the 2. And FDR did it, won a third, and then after him they were like, never again. But that was just a thing for the longest time. Just a thing.
So, that's one of the things. And that's, again, it's Trump being like braggadocious, facetious, unnecessarily. It doesn't do us any good when you're having conversations like that. Thought I saw a rumor like they're going to make hats about that. It's like, don't do that. Don't do that, because like it benefits nobody to be saying stuff like that. Benefits nobody to be doing stuff like that, But as for what he's done in his first 100 days, I don't think it's been awful. I don't think it's been.
He brought back
great
people visiting the White House.
Foundation for how he wants the next 3-4 years to go, and then if he wants to like name a successor who ends up running, and again, we're in an elected democracy, we can vote on if we want that individual or him or her to be the next president. We're able to, and the Democrats could find their next individuals to vote. But for right now, I think 100 days. I don't think it's the absolute dumpster fire that the one side says it's been, and I don't think it's been the complete success that the other side has been. I think there are things we point out and be like, I like what he's done there, don't like what he's done there. I think he needs to wrap it up on the foreign affairs. I think I personally am someone, I want us to completely back out. I want us out of NATO. I don't want us completely involved. I want us out of the Paris Accord agreement. Alexander is a big advocate for that, to get us out of that one too. These are just things, and these are things he says he wants to get out of. If he ends up getting us out of these things within 4 years, by whenever he decides to do it, I think that's going to be absolutely great. You might see my grade even start to bump up. The economy is down right now, but I think it necessarily had to go down. I think the numbers were inflated from the last 4 years. And that's really
and it's going to go down if you're going to put all these tariffs. You got to go to the deal table now so you can negotiate and get a better,
And the thing is, too, is like he brings an issue. Countries want to come to the table now. You're seeing a lot of countries unexpectedly be like, no, we want to play ball. We want to kind of work with this. And then you have your other ones that are actually like try to completely strong arm and be like, no, we're not going to do it. And then they completely go back on it. I mean, he's like in a war with China. Like 1 week it's 100%, and then all of a sudden it's 120%, and he goes to 125%. But it's like, that's the businessman side of him. Like, he's like, no. I know what my leverage is. I know what I can afford to do, and I personally don't want to constantly be seeing products being made and bought here, and you're seeing them made from China. Like, why can't we build them here? Like, why can't we build America great again here? Okay.
Like, I saw it on the radio show today. And it's a black radio show. So, they say weeds are going up, hair is going up, it's hard to get the nails in, it's shipping and shit is up. Like, this Chinese lady can't even file her ladies' nails because they can't get enough supplies, bro. We're all suffering. So it's like, not all, but but yeah, y'all get the point. Hey, and
that one took me by left field. That one took me like, I agree. I'm with you, dude. I'm with you. Like but
it's gonna work itself out. It's gonna work itself out.
So it's. But here's one thing I will say that I like about his 100 days, and it's nothing he's done. It has nothing to do with any policies or anything he's pushing. You are seeing individuals on the left challenge themselves by going on these podcasts, these YouTube shows, and having conversations with people on the other side that voted for the other side, and actually trying to gain an understanding of the other side's mindset. Whereas in the prior 4 years, they did none of that. And I do think, it's beneficial for them to be having these conversations and having these look backs. It all started with Gavin Newsom's, and you had individuals on their side completely attack him for one comment he made, which, it's like right there. It's like, Gavin, it's like right there.
I said that a couple weeks ago. Like, they eat each other alive instead of pushing each other up. The other party always push each other up, bro.
Yeah. It's like you should be promoting conversation with the other side, promoting dialogue, promoting debate, come to an understanding, whether you agree with each other or not. By the end of it, at least have the conversation.
And that is the party, right? Sorry, go ahead.
No. But it's like, I agree with you. It's like, that's their side. It's like, you're either checking all these boxes, and if you don't hit the one box we like checked, we crucify you at the cross for it. When it's like, hey, listen, like, he's with you 95% of the way. The 1% he's not doesn't mean he's not with your side, but it's like, promote open dialogue. And that's what I've really seen a lot of in these first 100 days since. And I hope that trend continues, because I think that's better for us as a country to be having these conversations in a healthy discourse way. Like, I think of like the Douglas Murray, Dave comment on Joe Rogan, like that whole conversation. And it's like, you saw it all like right there. Like, that was a hard right winger, right wing extremist. And I was like, I do not agree with 90% of what that guy says. In fact, I am completely appalled by what he said, and it's like, I need more people to see like, yeah. I may have voted this side, but I'm not with that.
Yeah.
I'm not
the
with that.
extremes on each sides can't be the face of your party. The extremes on each sides cannot be the face of your party. It's better for everyone if we just all move to the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And we pick our side on that day based off not feelings, but what is going to better your life. Because no one can really tell you what's going to better you. You're going to lean one way or another, but actually get out of just dying on that side, me in the middle, and just make an actual decision instead of already having your mind made up.
And it's like, I hope from these 100 days, like this conversation being promoted from both sides, it's like, just because I don't agree with you doesn't mean you're my enemy or you're someone that I'm on like against. It's like, no, I just, we don't quite line up, but like, we can still
that
talk.
would help them understand that you can't tell me what to say, because I'm gonna say right in front of you. You may not like it, but like, it's just words, you know what I mean?
And it's like, if you don't like it, talk to me about it. What is, and it's like, that's one takeaway I've taken from these 100 days that maybe isn't really what this administration's doing, but it's something that's come out of it that for 4 years wasn't there. They weren't talking to any of us. Yeah. And we were all having these conversations amongst each other going,
they were talking to me, bro. I'm in the middle.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, these are conversations that like we're having, and it's like, they just want to keep the border wide open. And it's like, you can't just do that. Like, there has to be some limitations here. Like, you can't just like allow this to go unchecked. And their other side was like, no, it's got to go unchecked. You got to have men and women's sports. These other things that are like completely. And it's like, if you don't agree with us, you're not only on our side, you're our enemy. And it's like, dude, like, we can't have a conversation. We can have a topic like this. And I've seen more of that in the last 100 days than I did 4 years prior to all of this. And it's like, I think this is healthy discourse. Like, I think so. And again, I'm not factoring this into the administration's grade. Like, I firmly have it like around B plus is simply like, I like that he has these sports teams like at the White House.
Still go play golf with your president, man?
Absolutely. And I don't care who it is. I would love to catch a back nine, get a dog at the turn.
Just like our dog Saquon, because
I would love to watch Trump drive just so I could be like that dog on hunt.
There's Saquon and Trump getting off of Marine.
And I love this because the last week of the Ohio State thing, you know what I mean? I love this because like pro team guy, no BS around his name, went and actually just came and say, yo, I can't just talk to the man because he's the president. I can't, I actually love that. Like, and see, Alex said it, Doug said it earlier.
That's the thing. It's like we're promoting it like
You're
it's
all
some
people.
like, grand thing, but it's like it's normal. Like it's so normal a guy would want to golf with the president.
Politics should not run our life.
Yes.
Politics should not deter.
The last 100 days has really like kind of showed that in a certain light, like just in a very tiny light. Like, hey, guy just wants to play golf. He invited me to play golf. I want to play golf with him.
He's the leader of the free world. You know how hard it is anybody to get in this man's schedule,
dude. Right? Anyone who says they wouldn't go golfing with a president, regardless of who. Like,
did
I agree with Biden? No, but if Biden had gone, you want to come golfing?
Well,
damn, you know, I'd probably do it. And then it's like, then you're going to Mar-a-Lago, like a private golf course, you know, that us normal people can only dream of being able to even afford to be able to play. You know, Saquon could afford it, but then he's also playing with the president. I mean, anyone who says they wouldn't play with the president, lying.
And the only way to get stuff from your side, I'm not saying Saquon is Democrat or Republican, but it's like having someone there, like just talking. Like you may say something to open up the president ear or something. You never know. Like you can't shut down doors before they even open, or shut down a person because of politics. Like that is crazy. You can't hate someone because of politics. Unless it's like really your ideology and you're extremist. Like you're just really on, you know what I mean? A friend shit.
Yeah.
You should not. Okay, that's a better word. You should not hate someone because of their political beliefs. We're all human. At the end of the day, we all bleed, eat in the same way. You know what I mean? Like, we're on this earth for a good time, not a long time.
It's like for Saquon golfing, and it's like, dude, do you know how hard it is to just get 3 of your friends together for a scramble? Let alone the president of the United States is like, hey, let's like go out and play 18. You know?
Well, dude, and then
that last comment by Alex, I don't know about that, bro. I ain't going over there with that nigga to go golf with him. All right, I'm sorry, I ain't doing it. If he coming over here, cool, but I ain't going over there. I ain't rats for dinner, bro. I'm sorry.
Well, and dude, what people aren't talking about too is he was playing with them in order to go to the White House and get honored, bro. Like he
just to fly on Air Force One,
but they were going to be meeting each other either way. Like people are making such a big deal out of this.
And you get to fly on Air Force One, bro.
Oh my god, dude! I would love to be on Air Force One. Are you kidding me? Yeah. Oh my god.
yeah. Imagine Trump looks at you and be like, "Hey, want to go for a ride?"
Yeah. Oh man, that's better than going like, to me. That is way better than going to the White House. I would definitely go on Air Force One before going to the White House. I'm just saying.
You know, and it's like that's the thing. So like when I think of like this first 100 days, it's like there's going to be their ups and downs, but there's always going to be those ups and downs. You know, it's like to treat these 100 days as like a complete and utter success or a complete and utter failure. It's like I don't think you're being fair to the idea of like what is actually being put forth, actually being done, actually being suggested, and what the goals and plans are. You know.
And if they get their way and Trump don't talk to no black people, we're going to have it bad. I'm just saying, we're going to have it tough out here. Like, it don't make sense. Like, exactly. You want none of us at the table, bro? We can't have some mashed potatoes and KFC chicken too? Come on, man.
You know, and that's the thing. And it's like, and I think that's ultimately what really pisses him off is because like he invites like everybody around, and it's just like there's no like pandering. You know, like one thing I always loved about Trump. It's like when I see like Hillary did it, Kamala did it, Joe really couldn't do it because he couldn't really speak, so I'll admit him. But like AOC is kind of doing now is like they'll go to like different parts of the country and like change like their voice to like fit like the populace that you're in. And it's like I never have seen a video of Trump doing that because it's like he has the mindset. And it's ultimately why he ended up winning. He has like such like the normal person, like he's able to like turn it on and be like, why would I talk with a Southern accent? Like, you
gotta be him or you gotta be her. You know what I mean? You gotta just be that person. Like,
yes,
the people is either going to resonate with you, but people see phony way quicker than you just being your authentic self. It would take more time for the crack to show than you going to Texas speaking Southern and coming up into New York and having a Bronx accent.
It just reminds me of Hillary going like, I have hot sauce in my purse all the time. I'm like, you don't ever have it in your purse ever, but I guess you do for this interview. Like it's just so bizarre. And again, this has nothing to do with his 100 days, but it's like he's still him through 100 days, for better or worse. Like he's still going to be doing him, making his decisions, all of that, whether you like him or you don't. That's why he got back in there, you know, and for like at least the discourse around it from both sides is healthier now than it was literally this time a year ago. Like literally this time a year ago, it was like they wouldn't speak to any of us. People in the middle would. And that's ultimately why he won, because people in the middle were talking to us and we're like, this is getting out of hand. And we were all like, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I said, B, I give him the slight plus on it because I like the invitations to the White House. Going to UFC still. And it's more for like me as an individual. It's like,
I love that.
I live in my own world where like I like watching college sports, professional sports, UFC. It is cool when I see the commander-in-chief, the president, the leader of the free world show up just to watch a couple fights. Like he doesn't even talk when he's there. He just shows up, shakes some hands, and then you see him sitting courtside. Like,
you always know. The president,
it's just like at the end of the day, it's like he's just a dude who wants to watch Charles Oliveira fight Dustin Poirier, and you know what? So do I. So sure, I don't like how he's handling Ukraine necessarily.
He was just at the last one with
this Iran thing, but
yeah,
let's watch a fight, dude. Let's just chill
out. He was at the last one with Patty Pimblett and Chandler.
Yeah, he's there, and it's just like
he's just a normal person. We all eat shit and bleed the same.
Yeah, he's eating McDonald's, and people are like, "Wow, that's unhealthy." It's like, shut up! Like you wouldn't enjoy a quarter pounder with cheese. Like, get over yourself.
He has the best doctors around him. Come on now.
So
world.
Yeah, not only does he have the presidential doctors, he's also got the rich people doctors.
Yeah.
He's treated well.
Yeah. So, for my 100 days, I give him a solid B with like a minor asterisk of a plus because of like the other little intangibles that he does that I, as a regular, normal, everyday American, just enjoy seeing, I just think of him going like the NCAA wrestling championship. And then that last kid ends up beating like the heavyweight, and he was supposed to leave like 3 matches before, but he knew the guy who ended up winning. And he was like, no, I want to watch the big guy wrestle. And it's like, this is a guy who has so much on his to-do list that he's like, no, I'm saying to watch a guy who's a fan of me because I'm a fan of him. It's like, that's like humble to a degree to where it's like, yeah, that kid's just like a normal American. He's going to end up serving in the military. He's like, I'm staying to watch him. Little things like that. That's like leadership that like you can't necessarily teach. I could criticize him for like his decisions, his policy making, and I can applaud him for his decisions and policy making. But it's like little things like that, like those intangibles, where I give him like a little plus with an asterisk next to it.
Gotcha. Well, the first 100 days to me was C plus, good and bad to it. Nothing really chaotic. I would say he did everything he said he was gonna do. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's nothing. It just hurts me that the economy might hit a little recession for the summer. But hey, it happens every decade or so. So who cares, man? We're gonna get over it. America is the greatest country of them all. Jamaica is up there. I'm just saying, my country's up there though. We don't have the power, but we got the vibes.
It makes you wonder where this economy would have been though if he hadn't lost in 2020. You know what I mean? It's like it was going so well, obviously outside of COVID, but like what it potentially could have been. So now with like this 4-year split, him having to make all these executive decisions to kind of rearrange and these tariffs to like kind of like shake up the economy. You really wonder like, what could have been and like what it is now. But I mean, it's neither here nor there. We know these are things we can't change. So Dougie Fresh, what you think? What grade do you get him?
Ooh, I'd give him a B. I like what he's done with some things, but he's definitely been a little more divisive than he said he would be in some other fields. Right now, the economy's taking a hit, but like we talked about, like we want to try and return to the Made in America thing, or at least more than we are now. Like, obviously, nothing will ever be fully back to what it was. Like, it just can't in this interconnected economy, but we could do more. We could do more, and so I like that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I definitely would go with a B. I definitely don't think anyone who says an A is just brainwashed by one side, because it's definitely not an A. Definitely not an A.
I feel that. I feel like if you're heavily driven by an A or an F, you were completely brainwashed by whatever media, whatever news outlet, whatever inner circle you're talking to. And if that's truly how you feel with an A or an F, I recommend you to get out there and talk to people more. Talk to more people on the middle. Talk to more people maybe on your side that just don't fully agree with you, or maybe people on the other side who aren't necessarily Fs. Maybe they just say like a D plus or a C minus, kind of get like their input on, because I definitely don't see it as a home run, and I definitely don't see it as a strikeout. So, I think it was a good wrap up. I mean, if you think about it, like 100 days, like if we were to talk about like it being like if we were in school, it'd be what, like you're halfway through the first quarter. You haven't even made it through the first quarter of like your entire school year. So, it is kind of crazy that we decide to like review the 100 days. But Doug, I like that little input about the first 100 days where it originated from. I didn't actually know that, but
yep, FDR. That's where it all originated from.
Yep. But all right, guys, we're going to put a bow on this one. I think we had a pretty good conversation. Got a little bit meaty on the draft topic, but again, that's what you get when you got the skeleton crew. We had our fearless leader kind of discuss a little bit about what's going on in Spain and Portugal. I know he's going to have a lot more to say, not just about that, but about other things next week when he safely returns next week, triumphant as ever, back in the big guy seat. I'll be over there, or probably by Doug playing on the computer. Actually, Doug, let him know about your absence.
I will be absent for about a month, so will probably be sitting here.
I'll be on the DJ booth. I'll be on the DJ Plouf playing some tunes. Ricky Ricardo, as always, from Another Day TV. Thanks for joining us. Always a pleasure having you here, brother.
Hey, we outside, man.
All right, and for the folks out there, be positive. Have a great week. Wake up. Drink your water. Eat your foods. Treat yourself a little bit. Maybe a Taco Bell here or there. Never hurt nobody. Get some McDonald's in honor of the first 100 days, maybe on top of that. But for those here, folks, we're going to put a wrap on this one. Thanks for joining us in. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Peace.